I'm Joshua Bardwell, here for Armattan Quads, and today I'm going to teach you how to bind your Spektrum satellite receiver with your Spektrum radio. Binding refers to the process of telling your receiver that it should listen to your radio. It's how, when you're out at the field with 17 other people, your quadcopter knows to listen to your transmitter and not anybody else's. Anytime you get a new receiver, you need to bind it to your radio. For the sake of this video, we're going to assume that you've already hooked up the satellite receiver to your flight controller. The exact way to do that is a topic for another video. The first way to bind your satellite receiver involves using your flight controller. This is nice because everybody's got a flight controller, but not all flight controllers support the ability to do this. So if you get halfway through this video and you're trying to enter the commands that I show you to enter in the command line, yeah, this does involve entering commands in the command line, don't worry. If you're trying to do that and it's saying command not recognized or whatever, it's not working, your flight controller doesn't support this, we've got another video showing you the alternative way as a workaround. First, you need to tell your flight controller that you're using a Spektrum satellite. To do that, go to the Ports tab, choose the UART that you've got the satellite connected to, and enable Serial RX. If you're using the CL Racing F4 from Armattan, it'll be UART 6. In my case, it's UART 3. Then go down and choose Save and Reboot. Next, in the Configuration tab, go to the Receiver type and choose a serial-based receiver, and then choose Spektrum 2048 as your serial receiver provider. When you've done that, hit Save and Reboot in the lower right. If you're using a DSM-2 receiver, you might need to choose Spektrum 1024, but I'm going to assume that most of you, if not all of you, are using the newer DSM-X receivers. The next thing you need to do will involve going into the command line, which many people find a little bit scary. Don't worry, I'll help you through it. I'm going to show you two commands now. When you enter them into your flight controller, it will cause the flight controller to put the satellite into binding mode the next time you power cycle the flight controller. You need to enter these commands exactly as shown here. The assumption is that you're using a newer DSM-X satellite. If you have an older satellite that's using the DSM-2 protocol, the command set Spektrum sat bind equals 9 might need a different number at the end. But we're going to assume you're using a newer satellite, and 9 will be the correct number. Having entered these commands, you're going to type save and hit enter, and the flight controller will reboot. Now you must power cycle the receiver and the flight controller together to put the receiver into bind mode. Now power up your transmitter and power up the flight controller that has the satellite attached. The fast flashing red LED indicates that the satellite is in bind mode. You need to see this or this process won't work. In the transmitter, I'm going to click the jog wheel and I'm going to scroll down until I find System Setup. I'm going to click the jog wheel one more time to go into the menu. I'm going to hit Yes to confirm, and then I'm going to scroll down to Bind. I'm going to click the jog wheel one time to select Bind, scroll to Bind, and click again. I should see something like this, binding DSM-X 22 milliseconds. And the binding should now be successful. Notice in the upper left-hand corner of the screen it says DSM-X, and also here on the satellite the red light is now solid. The bind is now successful. You did it. There's one more thing that you need to do before you're completely finished. Now that the receiver is bound, we need to go back into the flight controller and undo those changes we made. So in the CLI, you're going to type set Spektrum sat bind auto reset equals 1, and then save and enter, and that'll do it. Now, when you go to the receiver tab, you should see the channels moving when you wiggle the sticks on your transmitter. Congratulations, your receiver's bound, and you're ready to go.